So in the last video, we were working on the shit horse, getting the engine in, and at the end of the video, I said that we were gonna go stop and get a transmission on the way home. And well, there it is. So we picked it up from a guy for 50 bucks. He also had a couple more, and he said that if I take it apart and those lugs inside are no good, that he will give me another one. I can just return this one and get a different one. So that's pretty cool because he's just selling him his cores anyways. And if it's no good, it's no good, right? So yeah, there's the old one up there, new one there. So what I got to do is tear it apart and hope the lugs are good in this where the center support goes, and then I'll wash it and swap over all the goodies. This transmission actually looks like possibly it was rebuilt because all the seals look pretty new on it. So hopefully everything internally is good and I can save it for spares. And then maybe what I think I might do is take this transmission here and I'll hold on to it and I'll get the case saver or whatever I need to fix it so that I could actually use that one and save it for a spare case. So yeah, let's get to work. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lift this transmission up in this bucket here. Because if there's any oil in it, yeah, there's some. I want to get it out. You can see here, this seal looks new and the seal on the bottom looks relatively new. There's not much in here. I looked in the pan and it was pretty empty, but I want to try to minimize my mess. Now the only issue with doing this is now I have to take it out of the bucket without spilling. But there's not that much oil in there, so I think I'll be okay. Yeah. Let's leave it there for a minute. All right, so when it comes to this transmission, I got everything out of it, so pretty much all I'd still have to take off is like the valve body and stuff, which it can't be in the can for that. So I think I'll take it out of the can now. I gotta pull a few parts off that one, and then it can go in the can. So that's what we're gonna do now. If I can get it out of the can. They like to get wedged in there. Ooh. Yeah, so they're pretty light once you take all the innards out. So now we'll get to taking that one apart a bit. First thing I'm going to do is take this tail shaft housing off, and then we can take off all the other small parts, and then we have to flip it over, pull the valve body off, etc. Or maybe I don't know, I'll see. I might leave the valve body on because if the transmission ends up being no good, then there's no point taking it out. So there's your tail shaft housing, which I probably won't reuse. And then there's this, I don't know even know what that is for. I'm gonna get out the ever famous stink gun, as we call it. Okay, and then this is the speedometer gear here. This is your vacuum module, which if you have a manual valve body, a lot of times you just plug this off. But yeah, and they're actually, can't really see it now, but there's a valve inside here, and if that valve falls out and you forget about it for some reason, like you put it in the garbage can and then it comes out, the transmission doesn't work. It won't shift without it. And so I've done it before. I pulled my tranny and the Nova apart, went to put it back together, took it for a ride, and no, I can't get it out. The magnet's too big. And yeah, here I'll show you guys. See, if you look on the shit horse transmission here, it just has a plug because it doesn't use a vacuum because it has a manual valve body. This one has a plug, and I don't know, you probably can't see in there, but there is a valve in there. Just have to make sure that valve's always in there. But people get scared of transmissions because there's so many parts in them, but realistically, they're not too bad.
I wish I could remember all the names for these parts. This thing, accumulator I think it's called. Anyways, there's a spring behind here, and then when you put a shift kit in, usually you change springs to a different spring. So I'm gonna pull it out because I think it's a different spring, and I gotta, or you remove the spring altogether when you put a shift kit in. We'll figure that out when we get to the shit horse transmission. There should be a hole here somewhere, right here. So you can use that to push this clip out, and then the clip comes out like that. So that's pretty simple, but that's one of those things where if you don't know, you don't know, right? It's gonna make things difficult. Now there's something, apparently the O-ring was had a hole in it. It was broken. That's not good. This might have leaked this transmission. Okay, well see, that's, I'm pretty sure from the factory they have a spring in them. So maybe this actually even has a shift kit in already, possibly. Or is it you put a spring in it when you put a shift? I don't remember. Once again, we'll find out when we take the other one apart. Pretty much that's all you can take off. Next thing we have to take off is the pump. And so now it's got to go in the garbage can, and I'll show you a trick that I use to do it by myself. The best way if you're doing this and you're doing it by yourself is you just lay the garbage can like this. Get the transmission in there. Garbage can is like oblong because I'm putting transmissions in it all the time. Maybe I have to get it at a certain spot. And then just pull up on it. There we go. So pretty simple. And then we have to get the pump out, which is next. On the pump, there's right here and here, it's threaded. So you have to take, I made these, actually, a friend made these for me a long time ago. You just put them in there. Come on. It's a lot easier. This slide hammer used to have a kind of like a hook on the end, but it broke, so then I had to make it different. It makes it a little trickier, but so you can actually make two of these washers bolts and put one on each side. Oh, there we go. Sometimes you have to pull on both sides to get it off. Sometimes you don't, especially considering this transmission's probably been rebuilt. Okay, so then we take that out. Pump assembly. Then we take, there's a set of clutches. So there's a wavy that goes first, and then there's a bunch of clutches, which, yeah, these look pretty new actually. Take these out. So this is pretty good. If this transmission is, you know, relatively rebuilt, then I can actually build a whole spare transmission with that case once I fix it. The next thing to come out is the band, but it's a little of a pain because the valve body is still in. So it's putting pressure on the band a little bit. But I got the other one out like this. There's the band. Yeah, see, this band is pretty new. Sweet. That's good to know. Because that also tells you what type of condition the transmission's probably in. And then these things come out. Simple as that. Okay, so then the next thing, right here, there's a little clip that holds it in, holds this in, and you have to get a pick in here and just pick it out. So it's just a little like round clip, so I'll take that out. There it is. See, it's just a little C-clip, or not a C-clip. Well, I guess it's a C-clip. Then this comes off. This is your, I think this is called the sun gear or something. I don't know. I can never remember what all this stuff is called. And then this comes off. This is the ring inside that's the issue with the other transmission. In that the little nubs here are broken. So we take this ring out, this big ring like this, which is simple enough. And from what I can see, this transmission is in very good condition. So we're good. We're going to be good. That's awesome. We had issues with the shithorse trans before, and when we took it apart, all the lugs, a lot of them were broken. So I ended up welding some stuff, just screwing it, whatever, and it worked for a while. Then it was making noise again, and then we got another transmission for it last year, and when we tore that one apart, the lugs were already a little bit damaged, but it's what we had, so I just used it. But obviously it was no good because it broke more. But this one looks really, really good. So I'm going to pull the rest of this apart. See, the other one, these, I had to fight with it for half an hour to get it out because it was like wedged in there. You would have seen that on the live stream, but basically this goes in there, and then there's this little thing right here, and that kind of locks it in place. These lugs right here that go all the way around, those are the lugs that are damaged on our other transmission, but on this one they're perfect, so that's awesome. Okay, then there's just the whole rear assembly with the clutches. And see, this is no good. These clutches are smoked. I believe these are for reverse, so this transmission probably didn't have reverse, which is why it was probably junked. Now that kind of doesn't suck, but I was gonna use, there's a piston down here, and I was hoping I wouldn't have to change it, just because it's a little bit of a pain in the ass, but maybe that's no good. So there's a seal in there, maybe that seal's no good, so we're gonna have to probably pull it apart. All right, so now that I have it down to here, valve body off, everything, all I need to do is take that lower piston out, which, like I said, I wasn't gonna, but seeing that reverse is not working or was burnt, I better check because there's seals in there. They could be bad. I might as well change them. So this is a special tool. So it pretty much just goes in there. It clips onto those tangs, and then you just apply pressure, and there's springs in there. It pushes them down. It's actually the same way you get some of the drums apart to change the seals in them. It can be a pain sometimes to get it out. Still needs more. Scary thing is sometimes it pops off of these tangs and then it goes bang. So we don't want it to do that. There's just a ring inside, and you just have to manipulate it out of there with some of these picks. There we go. And with the twang, there it is. It's out. Then you just back this off. I'm sure any transmission tool place would sell one of these. I got it from somebody a long time ago. They sell a fancier one where you put the transmission in there, and then you use your foot and you push down on it. There's a little thing that holds this tang down right here. Now if I remember, I don't remember what hole, there's a hole you just blow a little bit of air into somewhere, and then this will pop out. There. So it's this hole right here. You blow a little bit of air into it, and it pops this right out. So at the end of the day, this looks, oh no, I think this seal is no good. Yeah, The seal's all munched up here, if you can see that. It's all pulled out. So that's probably what it's damaged. So that's probably why it had no reverse. It blew the seal, so it's a good thing I took this out. Alright, so now I'm going to go to the car wash this, and then I'll take apart the other one, and then be ready to put the back together. Back from the car wash, so you can see it here. All nice and clean. I removed the that lower piston from this one, which is the old one, which is sitting right there, and it looks in good shape. So basically what I'm going to do now is just kind of load it back in. Pretty much, I'll start putting it back together and then I'll check back, but pretty much it's the same as taking that one apart. When I took it apart, just the reverse, you throw everything back in. So I'm going to do that now. Now, if you were rebuilding the transmission, you would take these drums apart and change the clutches and the seals, which I'm not doing. And then you have to get the clutches lined up with that round thing I put in that has grooves for the clutches to go in. So you got to just wiggle it until it goes in. It can be a pain. There it goes. And this is another one of those areas where if you don't have it down all the way, nothing fits right. So you just have to feel for it, give it a little extra to make sure that it's down, and then it's good. Then the band goes in. Everything in this transmission is still pretty much brand new, so it was pretty much just a mechanic. I mean, the transmission still worked. It was just making noise, so. Okay, so then there's that. This goes pretty fast because I'm not really rebuilding it, right? Then there's this. Figure where that goes. You know, you'd think I'd rebuilt a ton of these that I would remember where all this goes. And pretty much when you tighten the pump down, if the bolts don't, or if this doesn't spin easy, then you did something wrong. Perfect. All right, guys, so there it is. All back together. I just threw the valve body on and the mount and all those other things. These two behind this cover and this cover. You saw me take that stuff apart. Tranny cooler lines are back on. So yeah, she's ready to go back in the shit horse. And soon the shit horse will be ready to burn some tires. So it's pretty awesome. So that's gonna be it for this one, guys. I don't know what's going to happen in the next video. I got to do some work on the S10. I want to get to work on the Nova. And we'll get out to Clayton's and we'll get the trans in the shit horse and get it back on the road. So, yeah, check you later.